Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, in that book, he talked about the issues he had with his family from his his father in the beginning of the book was kind of physically abusive, and the impact that had on him by him not kind of stepping up, being one of the oldest children and
Mm,
not stopping it from happening,
right.
and how that kind of impacted how him not feeling like a strong man, and the ability to step up, and you kind of see how that played out kind of with the whole thing with with Chris Rock. I think to a degree, I think all those types of things potentially had an impact on how he conducted himself there.
Right.
But just from like him going through all those things, and then him going from the top to when his rap career first took off. He had he did an amazing job with his first album with DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Right.
They had an amazing first album, but if you remember, after that first album, it tanked. His next album, really had terrible sales.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him kind of getting discovered from the Fresh Prince after that, we wouldn't really know him as Will Smith as he is today.
Right.
So he went from the top to the bottom, then back to the top, and then he talks about the book how, he just kept on being hungry for wins and hungry for success, and how that's great because that was something that his dad instilled in him. It's like, you always want to do your best. You always want to, if you're not doing your best, what's the point of even doing it?
Mm,
That was kind of really the big motto that his dad kind of instilled in him. But the thing that he kind of felt like negatively impacted him from that was, he never really ever felt fulfilled.
mm,
He'd have a blockbuster movie, and then after the next day, after those numbers come out, like he's like, okay, like dang, I should have done better. Like
mm,
I was expecting to have a million more. I was expecting to have a million more tickets sold.
right.
So I'm gonna do that in the next movie. And he just said he just kept on, doing the next job and never being fulfilled and never being fulfilled. And it was due to the whole time, like he wasn't satisfied in who he was,
Mm,
and he kept on looking for this affirmation from other people, whether it was from critics and movies, whether it was from people just laughing at him when he told his jokes, whether it was just from him always wanting to have constant affirmation and the support of his family. Like his image of himself was so much ingrained in what other people thought of him, and he really just broke down how problematic that is.
right.
And the really big thing I loved in that book was like I still kind of struggle with that piece to this day. I am somebody that sometimes is a people pleaser who will
Yeah.
just I want to do things just because I want to help. I want to help, but also I feel like them helping makes me feel good, and that's good to do it in that way. But also, I have to make sure that I'm taken care of first,
That's right.
and I'm doing things that are supportive of me and my family, and not doing things just for I want people to feel good about who I am. I'm doing it because I feel good in who I am in the first place.
That's right.
And that book really kind of just reinforced that the importance behind just making sure you are holistically, whether you're spiritually, physically, emotionally, like all of those pieces are addressed, because if you don't, you can not only help yourself, but you can't help anybody else
That's
unless
right.
those things are really running the way they should. So I love that book. Strongly recommend it. One of the best books I've ever listened to. Strongly recommend that. The next one I recommend is the autobiography of Malcolm X. I just listened to that for the first time, and Lawrence Fishburne narrates that.
Okay.
And he does an amazing job with that as well. Malcolm X is somebody that, from my educational experience at first, you always think of, any means necessary, right? That's one of the first things I always thought of when I thought of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Like, he was a civil rights activist, but specifically with violence, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really appreciated from reading his book is, he has another kind of really kind of turbulent kind of upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
and all those things kind of shaped his kind of perception and who he was. But as he started to develop, and especially later on in life, he really started to see the power in unity. And I think that's one of the things we don't talk about enough in his legacy,
Yeah.
is that He was really big on bringing folks from all identities together to advocate for the social cause. And I think it's really unfortunate that his legacy is kind of known for being this, this violent figure. But in actuality, especially as he matured, like he did believe in violence when necessary, but he believed in violence when it was the last thing to do. If a group wasn't getting the respect and the resources and the experiences that they needed to be able to survive in our society, we need to step up. But not only just for Black folks, for anybody who's marginalized, for
Right.
anybody who's not getting the respect that they deserve. So
Yeah.
I strongly recommend that one as well. Another great read for sure.
Yeah. He was civil rights. Like, people think sometimes when we talk about some of these words that are thrown out there, um,
Mhm.
it's usually split this or that. You don't think about every one that's it encompasses, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I both of those books are in my to read my little queue.
Oh yeah, hey, you're gonna love them. I mean, that Will book is so powerful. Again, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I mean, and it really allowed me to see how much of a disservice they did in that movie. I don't know if you watched the movie with
A
Denzel
long time
Washington.
ago, yeah, yeah.
Man, they didn't touch on that. They just like did little snippets here and there
They
to
glossed
like just
over a
not do
lot.
it. Yeah, it glossed over so much. So strongly recommend folks reading that too for sure.
Okay, I just read Booker T's um, Booker T. Washington,
Hmm.
and that was a really good one too. Um, it's so important. Like if I audiobooks have really helped me get into like regular books, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm listening to a lot of books, but I'm also reading a lot more because it's like, okay, these books aren't that bad. Um, and man, that book was it's so crazy how it's like this guy who was around during the time where slavery was ending, because it didn't end right then and there, right? I mean, slavery ended, but people
all
weren't
right.
free, right? And how he was saying like, the initial push was, woohoo, yeah, and it was like, well, where are we gonna go?
Exactly.
What are we gonna do? And then a lot of them went back and they took care of the people who was working the plantations because they didn't have. I mean, you don't hear about that a lot in history. It's like a lot of the slave owners went broke. They couldn't sustain. That's how important that industry was.
Was.
Is that when they lost all of those people, the personnel, they bankrupt, and so they were like losing the farm, losing the house, losing everything. Like they came back, took care of them, like really took care of them. Some of them were blessed. Well, I don't want to say. I mean, they were blessed with the land and the house and the farm and all that stuff because they came back and took care of them. And just reading this, I'm just like, wow, you don't hear about stuff like this. Um, I never heard about it. I just heard
Yeah.
this and that. And so it's so important that you do get into those books, man. That's whew, good
Yeah,
read.
and the thing that I love that I've really tried to make the most of now, especially with audiobooks, is you can listen to a book and get in the shower. You can listen to a book and drive to work.
That's
You know,
right.
you can listen to a book and work out. So I try to make the most of my time with that now. If I have a chance to listen to something that's going to make me a better person or going to make me a better educator, make me a better husband, make me a better son. Like I'm trying to make the most of that time and finding good platforms to kind of really help me be a better version of those things. So yeah, strongly recommend audiobooks for sure.
Yes, yes. You hit the nail on the head. So, what person or people have had the biggest influence on your execution and understanding of leadership? You mentioned some, but are those the same
Yeah.
people?
So I will start with I'll start with Dean Jackson. So she was the woman I told you was the dean of students at Georgia Southern after Dr. Lewis left,
Mm-hmm.
and she also she stayed at Georgia Southern. Then after she was at Georgia Southern, she went to Albany for a little bit, and then after Albany, she came back and worked at Augusta University. And the wild thing was, she was my supervisor.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so she recently she left to pretty much do her own kind of consulting business about 6 months ago. But she supervised me for about 2 years. So she was my dean of students, and specifically the advisor for student government when I was the president. You know, in 2012, 2013, and then she was my boss in 2020 and 21. So again, just crazy how life works. But
Yeah.
so she helped me as a student. She helped me as a professional. She provided me so many different lessons with just working with people. She's really big on just being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And the power of in your authenticity. She really believes that the more you're able to be genuine, obviously the more people are able to connect with you, the more they're able to relate to you, the more they will buy in and willing to follow and be a part of your leadership.
Right.
So I really kind of learned and watched her evolve from when I was a student to as a professional, to her really living and breathing that, to whether it was how she wore her hair, to how she related to students, her just feeling comfortable enough and being herself.
Right.
And it allowed me to see like, hey, like I don't have to be this this suit and tie, always kind of trying to be on point all the time person. Like I can really be okay with making mistakes, be okay with talking about my mistakes,
Right.
talking about my challenges. Because again, I think a lot of times we as people think that those challenges we go through are things that we shouldn't talk about, but in actuality, those are things that really make us better people. And instead of us being ashamed of them, we really should lean into them and be proud of those things, proud that we overcame those things.
That's right.
Because that can help somebody else probably either not go through that or help them navigate whatever they're going through.
That's right.
So yeah, I really appreciate her for that. That's one of the things that I'm just so grateful for her for. She also, her and her husband are really big on in the marriage counseling. They taught us the 3 C's, and that's Christ, communication, and commitment.
Yeah.
Always putting Christ first in our relationship.
That's right.
Always being committed to each other. And then also the importance of communicating and making sure that we're on the same page. Everybody feels heard and valued. So she's dropped some serious gems on me professionally and personally. Another one of those mentors that's really kind of got me to where I'm at for sure.
That's awesome. That's good. Yes. I love the 3 C's. We heard
Yeah.
them a little bit different, but it's the same thing. That foundation. Yes. Awesome. So we got permission to jump in the time machine.
Okay.
So I'm gonna dial this thing up. So if you could go back in time and talk to anybody, who would you want to go back and have a conversation with?
Jesus,
Why?
yeah, for sure. He is he's the foundational piece of my faith.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could have the opportunity to chop it up with him and just ask him all the questions we all probably have questions about, I would do it. He would, no doubt. Jesus would be the one I would talk to for sure.
Look, man, a question that I would love if I can go back and ask him, like, right off the top, the first thing I was like, before your mission started and your mom brought you the stuff and she was like, yo, they ran out of wine. And you're like, my mission, it ain't my time yet. She was like, do what he say do. Knowing that you the all powerful, you got all of this in you, and then you still got to listen to Mom Dukes that's just flesh and bones, man.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, hey, if Jesus can listen to his mom, then we sure can too. So that's a good point.
That's right. It's like, it's like, you're supposed to instill the fear of God in your kids, not to be afraid of you, but the fear of God.
I know what you mean. Right? Yeah.
So it's like, if you're God the Son, how did you instill the fear of God?
Literally himself, right? I can't imagine what Mary and Joseph was going through and all that. It's such a very unique situation, but it would be a great conversation to have. I tell you that much. That would be a conversation. If I had the opportunity, I have all my questions written out in detail. I would be prepared for every pivot. I mean, it would be the most detailed interview you could have.
Yeah, man. It's like it's a huge gap in his timeline of adolescence and teenage years.
Exactly.
I'm like, most kids, most teenagers, boys, they begin to, as we say in the South, they smell themselves, right? So how many beatdowns did you get? Did you get your butt whooped every now and then? Because they cut it short. They cut it short. It was like, we realized that we left our kid back at the marketplace. We got to go back. And so you've been missing for 2 days, and you turn around and the first thing you say, I'm about my father's business. Let me tell you something. Jesus, get your butt on this daggone cart. That's a good one, man. I would love to have that conversation. Everybody, some people take it super biblical. I just enjoy the fact that he walked in the flesh and he experienced life just like we did, so that we couldn't say, "Oh, we can't do it." He experienced it so that we could say, "He did it. This is how you go through it." Now, when you fall, I did it so that when you fall, you can get up, dust yourself off, and try again.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of times we don't see Jesus as the person that he was. He was a person, but he also was, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit at the same time too. So yeah, it would really be interesting to kind of hear some of those kind of personal stories that he probably went through, that very similar to some of the experiences we have had as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, did you ever roll your eyes at your mom?
It's so interesting, right? Because he technically didn't sin, but he also was a person. It's like, it's how did he balance out all those pieces as an adolescent?
Man.
Interesting things to hear for sure.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So if we talked about a lot of this stuff already, so
okay.
If this is gonna be something that you already answered, you could just be like, all right, yeah, we already hit that one. So if you could change 3 things in the world, what would they be?
3 things in the world. 3 things in the world. Okay, so I'm gonna start it. I hate to be political, but one of the things that probably is political is I would change the electoral college. It's a big pet peeve that we don't have a popular vote. That's one.
Yeah.
I definitely think it should be one person, one vote, as compared to doing these state things. And in the past, we've had it to where folks who've gotten less votes has won elections.
Yeah, how?
I don't care if that's a Democrat or Republican or Democrat. Like that just doesn't, the math doesn't math. The math ain't mathing with that.
If it's government for the people.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like democracy.
Right.
So that's one that I would think of. Going back to what we said before, just in our educational system, just making sure that it has the resources and support system to truly not only sustain itself, but to really provide our kids with the best experiences possible, so we can have the best workforce and best society later on.
That's right.
And then for the third one, I'm just going to stay in education, and I'm going to say kind of 2 pieces in education with this. So I guess this is kind of cheating, but I'm really big on financial literacy. So I would love for there to be a strong proponent of students learning about the importance of financial literacy, and that you can make money outside of you spending your time, you exchanging your time for currency.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of other different ways for you to use resources that you have to accumulate wealth. So I would love for that to be something that everybody is exposed to. And I say that along with teaching people the importance of empathy, and I'd say empathy specifically in regarding like some form of poverty education. Like I think a lot of times, some folks aren't as empathetic for folks who are going through hard situations because they don't understand what they're going through. like you don't understand that, that they may have grew up in a household where they didn't have enough, whether it was a bed to sleep on or enough food to eat, or didn't have a family structure that was really focused on education.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those pieces have to do with your socioeconomic status.
Right.
So I would love to have like a course that allowed folks to, really hear and see how, SES has a direct impact on people's trajectories. It doesn't impact everybody because, we always have examples of folks who overcome hard situations to get to where they are. So obviously that doesn't apply to everybody, but if 40 or 50% or even 60 or 70% of people who are coming from, hard situations, and if those people aren't excelling, it's not the people, it's the situation that they're in.
Right.
So what's some ways that we can communicate that to folks with resources, so we can create a level of empathy and support in an infrastructure so everybody has a chance to succeed.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. It's those people that make it are the exceptions. They're not the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's and it's great that you have people that can do that.
Exactly.
But one of the things that we talked about in while I was in the military, and we will always have these type of conversations. Is a lot of times because of the lack of education, there becomes the mindset that is developed is an entitled mindset, but entitled to, instead of saying that I'm entitled to education, like, I'm entitled to get educated, I'm entitled to learn how to do better, to get better. It's I'm entitled to get this government assistance and stay in the bricks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's generations that will stay in the bricks and not feel like I'm supposed to move past this because the mindset hasn't changed, because no friction, no iron has been sharpening iron. It's not been anything that's a catalyst that says, hey, look, you are so much more smarter than this. Go to school, read this book, challenge. But mentors, it's hard for people when there's no incentive or they don't see it. There's no vision on as far as like, how we can change the future. And so it's good that we have people that are, in your position who are helping and pushing for those things. While I was in, I would take my soldiers, we would go out and we would try to, be at least big brother, big sister type stuff.
Yeah.
And then like Purpose Center, Dream Center, all these different places where you got people in the community, but we need you people to get in the community as well, and there's always some type of program that's out there that you can get involved with to help, because we're only as strong as our weakest links, and if our weakest link is never fixed, guess what, we're still weak there.
Exactly. Yeah, and I love the fact that you said that it's everybody has a role in that. Everybody has a role to play in helping those that are less fortunate, and being an example and using the successes that you have to help somebody else. What is the point of success if you don't use it to better somebody else? And I think if we as a people don't really start to really see that, again, we're setting ourselves up for a hard time. That's because when you have folks who aren't empowered and aren't supported, they end up doing things that aren't in their best interest, and not only in their best interest, it's not in society's best interest.
That's right.
So again, you don't only give back just because it's helping somebody else. You're giving back because it's helping you and it's helping your kids, all in this kind of circle of life.
That's right.
So yeah, I completely agree with you there for sure.
That's right. Get involved, man. Get involved. It's all you gotta do is flip open the man. Now you gotta do is go Google.
That's it. So many opportunities, so many places are taking volunteers and helping folks in so many different ways. So you're right. Just get involved.
That's right. And if you're in the CSRA, what is that? The Central
Savannah River area.
Okay, if you're in that area, there's a place called Golden Harvest, where, man, I didn't realize that their mission was as big as it is. They're always giving out food. They always need
Yep.
volunteers to serve at the soup kitchen type deal. There was I got a so I volunteered at the Dream Center. I got a pamphlet that was like that thick, and it was a list of all the places that are donating and they're providing subsistence and clothes, and it's like if you can't, and it's every day of the week somebody is giving something, somebody's doing something. It's like it's insane to say there's no excuse, but after seeing that in this area, there's really no excuse for someone to be hungry.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
This area, I mean, kudos go out to the Augusta area, the CSRA, because they do it, man. They do it. I mean, I've been in a lot of places and I haven't seen it that big before. So shout out to all of the nonprofit organizations, the churches, everyone that which is nonprofits, but everybody that's out there, giving back to the community, man. Big ups to you guys. Yeah, man. So tell me, what's servant leadership? Why is it important?
Yeah, servant leadership to me is it's getting out of the office and it's getting in the weeds and it's being an example. Servant leadership is, you not only telling somebody what to do, it's you working side by side with them and doing the activity and being an example. It's you showing that, you make mistakes. It's showing that, you have more to learn.
That's right.
It's helping somebody else in a variety of different ways. So yeah, I view servant leadership as the most effective form of leadership. I try to be a practitioner of that myself. And again, not just instructing someone or delegating someone to do something. It's me literally going and being hands-on with that myself, so folks can know that I'm invested in this just as much as you are.
Okay, so spinning off of that, finish this sentence. The most effective leaders.
The most effective leaders, they know and have a strong appreciation for the people that they serve, and the future of the organization. And I really stress the future because I've seen a lot of leaders, and I even say this specifically in the church. I feel like I've noticed this in the church, but you can see this anywhere, where it's folks who don't know. It's hard to determine when the best time to transition into leadership and let someone else have the opportunity.
Right.
To empower somebody else to be able to step up and take your place, to train those who are coming from under you. So I think that the best leaders have a close relationship with the people that they serve, and just as importantly as that, they're prioritizing the future of the organization, so they know that the organization can continue to function if they're there or not. That's something that I think is extremely important. I think it's something that's, as leaders, we really sometimes need to prioritize more, because we think that we are. Sometimes leaders can think that they are the organization, but in actuality, they're just a small piece that eventually is going to have to transition. So you need to understand that and be mindful of that, and be setting somebody up to come from behind you, so the person who comes behind you can do the same thing after it's their time to.
I love it. You do not want to create a single point of failure.
Yeah.
You're not here, mission fails. Oh
Yep.
no. You want people that are comfortable and capable to pick up the ball and run.
Exactly.
Without you, some people be like, oh, you could do it without me, you don't need me. No, that's not the point. The point is you have replicated yourself. You
Exactly.
want to train your people so well to where you put yourself out of a job. And usually when you do that, you're usually putting yourself out of a job to get promoted to another job.
Somewhere else. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And it takes a level of, security in yourself and confidence to be, at peace with that and know that's how that it should be.
That's right.
Because again, a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people think that, I don't want to give, somebody else all the different, tricks that I know to get things done, or I don't want to tell them all the different, pieces of my job. But when you do things that way, that's not the most effective form of leadership. But again, I think a lot of times people view that as self-preservation.
That's right.
But in actuality, it's probably really it's hurting their trajectory as long as the organization too.
That's right. Go back to that leadership principle, the mirror effect.
Yep.
Because when you start that, then all of your people are going to do it too. So you're going to start seeing them sharing information, and sharing is caring, as my wife always said. Sharing is caring. Teamwork makes the dream work. She got them little catchphrases. I'll be like, okay.
That's funny.
All right, so if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
My superpower would be to it would either be, let me say two. It'd either be to time travel, or it would be, I don't know if you watch like Dragon Ball Z, but you watch Dragon Ball Z, you familiar? Yeah. So, you know, like they did like the instant transmission thing. He'd do this and he'd just like pop up, like he'd be in America and he'd go from America to Africa. Like if I had that, I would love to have that power, just to be able to do this.
Teleport.
Yeah, teleport. Yeah.
See, you said mine. Yes. Yes, I love it. But I like the one that you said too, because technically, if you time travel, you can time travel. It'll put you in another place and another time.
That's right.
So like you could time travel to 2 seconds back at another location.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a good one. That's the first time that someone said time travel. I like it. I didn't think about that one. So look, I got all deep into it. I'm like, everybody wants to fly, right? It's like, who wouldn't want to fly? However, just because you have the ability to fly don't mean that you're indestructible like Superman. So you could be flying and run head first into something and die.
True, right? Yeah, because being able to fly doesn't make you indestructible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Or hit a bird or something and then you get passed out.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd pass on that one.
Yeah, I'm good, because if I could only have one superpower, and then it's like, people don't think about, as you change elevation, it gets colder. So you fly up too high, you might freeze.
Exactly. Hey, that's one of the dangers of time travel too, though. You time travel back to a period, especially for us, and we may not want to. It may not be the best place for us. But we want to be strategic about where you go and when you go. That's for sure.
That's true. Or have the right gear when you get there.
Exactly.
No. Oh, that's good. That is good. Oh man. Okay, so we're coming towards the end. Give us your Mount Rushmore of leaderships. 3 leaders that are instrumental for you. You said one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I got Dean Jackson on there. I'm gonna throw my parents on there. Remind me how many Mount Rushmore is. What is it, 4 or 5?
Well, I said 3, but you gave me Dean earlier, so you still have your parents.
So I'm gonna stick with
You got 2 more.
Okay. See, I am gonna do my parents. So I'm gonna say my mom. My mom is someone who she valued education, and like my kind of professional, wherewithal, and my financial, I feel like my financial literacy and being a saver and also an investor, and I feel like a big part of my faith and all those things were really kind of foundationally based in my mom. So I have to give her so much credit for that. So she has to go on there. And then my dad as well. My dad was he wasn't somebody who was like really big in education, but he was somebody who just was he was just such a good, just like hard worker. And my dad is someone who's like personality and charisma, and his ability to talk to anybody and develop friendships and relationships with anybody. It's just something that I learned, and it's something that I appreciate, just being able to see how he was able to do that so I can do that myself. Yeah. So I feel like my mom kind of really gave me a lot of like book smart and like, just really kind of setting me up professionally. But my dad did so too, in a way, in like building relationships and just being okay to be myself and have fun and laugh and joke. So I just have to give them both credit for, just empowering me to, you know, be the best version of myself that I can, be the best, again, kind of professional that I can be. My mom encouraged me to be the best student, and, her encouraged me to be the best Christian, and my dad just encouraging me to just, to be a hard worker, but also to have fun and laugh and get to know people and have great relationships and enjoy that part of life too.
That's good. That's good. All right. You got anybody else?
Um,
You got one more?
if I had to name